first of all, you simply say, okay, how do you want to talk about it? That's the compensatory process. If a person is making a complaint or a suggestion about anything, listen to the person's complaint or the person's suggestion and say, how do you suggest? Because no one has solved a race problem. No one. So anybody may step forward and say, hey, this is something you're overlooking. And that is, the process should not be to talk so much about the problem, but about the solution. So that becomes a part of the code if that is the process. So you say, okay, we won't say what the problem is, but we'll say what the solution to the problem is. However, logically speaking, if there is a problem that you're trying to solve, say if you have a sore foot, you have to at least mention that your foot is sore, because that is the problem. That's why you're walking the way that you're walking. And then you find out, why is your foot sore? See, because you talk about the problem first, and then you say, oh, well, the problem is not the whole body, but the problem is right now just your foot. But that's causing a problem for the whole body. Is that the problem? Now we identify the problem. You say, yes, right. The reason I was late for work today is because my body wasn't in the shape that it should have been in.
Yes, sir.
And you say, well, what part of your body wasn't in the shape that it should have been in? Well, it was my foot. Oh, so it's your foot. Your foot was the problem. Say, yes, I was unable to walk to the train station. And so at a pace that I needed to get there in time, so I missed the train. And so that was the problem. So, okay, well, let's examine your foot. And so you examine the foot, say, well, your foot seems to be okay, generally speaking, even though there seems to be a part of your foot that's not the way it ought to be. I mean, it seems like it's been injured. Well, what injured your foot? And so then you go and look and say, oh, you have a nail in your shoe. Oh, so that is the problem. Now you have diagnosed what the problem is. You have to know what the problem is. Like going to a doctor, you have to know what the problem is. Like if the car is not running correctly, the mechanic is going to ask, what seems to be the problem? Is it the tires, or the car won't start, or what? See what I mean? And so you always, logically speaking, you have to address the source of the problem. And then you address what's the best way to go about doing it. That's the compensatory codified procedure. And you codify, first of all, finding what the problem is, and then you codify, now, let's list some ways, and this is how you do it with the solution part, because that's the real part that the person is talking about. You say, okay, since we don't know how to solve this problem, let's make some suggestions. Let's make about 15 suggestions. That's what you start off with. Every suggestion you can come up with. This is how I've written my code book.
Yes, sir.
See what I mean? Just making suggestions, and you say, now, I'm going to make 15 suggestions as to how to go about solving this problem. And then we're going to systematically test each one of those 15 and try to come up with the best one, because there's always a best one out of the 15. And that becomes a part of the code if it works, because that's the only way you can tell. You have to run tests on everything. Everything should be tested. Every suggestion that somebody makes in the solution to the problem should be tested. And it only becomes a part of the code if it shows that it works. But hypothetically, you can always say, well, we haven't gotten to that stage yet where we got a solution, so we still have a bunch of suggestions out here that we're testing. And that's basically how I have written my part of the code. There's no limit to codification. You keep making suggestions until you come up with one that works.